Well, welcome to this
My
late
God, we
edition
actually
of the
made it
Baldy
on.
Bonkers. Right? Right, we actually made it. Fucking time zones and technical issues
Yeah.
galore.
Honestly, guys, I've never had as much trouble on a live before. Rick, thank you for coming on tonight. I know it was last night, but we had technical problems. Thank you so much for coming on. And my God, do you have like spirits attached to you, like follow you about?
That's more true than you know.
Do you? So you do have like an attachment. So you do have attachments then?
No, I don't think it's attachments. I think I have things that follow me around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, who we all got there? We've got Dots MC. Let's see here. I think I've lost my co-host again. We have. We'll wait for it to fill up for a minute. Hey, Ken, it's good to see you. So, Rick, how are you this weather? How's things this weather?
I didn't hear you.
How are things this weather?
No, weather out here is fine. I mean, I live in Southern California. It's 70 every day.
I know. Well, I've seen it on the live webcams. I've seen Southern. Is it the Venice Beach? And it's beautiful. It's like sunsets, and it's a beautiful location to go to. Did you ever get any earthquakes? Were you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was in one that was terrifying, but that was in 1996.
Really?
Yeah, it was a 7.0, and it knocked the shit out of everything.
I remember that. Is that the one? Is that the one where the freeway collapsed on top of the other cars?
Yeah. A lot of stuff collapsed.
I bet it did. So, Rick, can you? Because we've only really got about 48 minutes or so. Can you tell us a wee bit about yourself?
Well, I can.
Fire away, my good man.
I think I can. I know me better than anybody else does.
Yeah.
I was in the movie business for over 40 years, and I've been hunting ghosts for over 50 years. I've been in about 75 movies. I've done probably 25 live stream hunts. Did a lot of stuff with Dark Zone. We did the Conjuring House. We did the Queen Mary. We did Balgony Castle in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite.
Yes.
So I've actually done quite a bit of stuff. You may have seen my group, the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, on Ghost Adventures. We were the first group, I believe, to actually ghost hunt with them. I don't know if they've ever had anybody else do it since.
It's usually just themselves, old Zach Bagans and his crew. It's very unusual to see them with other ghost hunters. You'll see them interviewing them, but you never see them with them. You know?
Yeah, I mean, they come in and they say what happened, and then they shoo them out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We actually did the ghost hunting with them, so that was pretty interesting.
Have you ever been? I was going to ask you. Have you ever been to the Hollywood sign? They say that's meant to be really active.
I used to live right behind the Hollywood sign, believe it or not.
Really?
There's supposed to be a ghost of a girl up there named Peg Entwistle, who was an actress who came out, and they told her that this first movie that she was in, that as somebody said, they cut out all of her scenes, and she just said, "I'm never going to make it." She climbed up to the top of the H of the Hollywood sign and jumped off and killed herself. Well, the sad part is they hadn't cut all of her stuff out. So,
see, that's quite.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting. Yeah. That is quite interesting. What would you say? Yeah, when you go, sorry.
No, I was just listening to you.
So, Rick, what would you say in Los Angeles itself? What would you say was the most haunted part of that city?
Well, I would say it is a place that we used to do live streams from. It was the Los Angeles Museum, LAPD Museum. And and that's where they took all of the evidence from like the Marilyn Monroe case, the Sharon Tate when they all got murdered, the Night Stalker, all the evidence from there is located in this one building. And we were there many times for ghost hunts that we were doing for Dark Zone. And every time we went back, there was more happening, and it was getting really intense. And then the person that we had to hook up with, they actually transferred her somewhere else, so we don't go there anymore. But it was very, very haunted, that place.
I honestly would imagine so. You could be given just everything that would be there. But I was kind of wonder, based on your experience when it comes to both Hollywood and paranormal investigation, do you feel that your background could actually help determine potential fraudulent evidence when it comes to the paranormal?
Absolutely. I was a stunt coordinator for quite a long time. And part of the job of that is watching very carefully to make sure that all the punches look like they're connecting and everything else is all together. So my group, I mean, we've got 2 directors in my group. We've got a whole bunch of actors. We've got special effects people. If there was ever a group that you're not going to fake out, it's us. Right? Because, I mean, we will spot everything. And most of the people like Richard Friedman and Adam Green are horror directors. So they're used to seeing all the different things. But no, you're not going to get anything by us, fake stuff. I've actually had people ask me, is this real? Is this not? And I'll just tell them straight out. I said, no, it's not real. Yeah. And I'll say, tell you why. Look behind. Right? And they would look behind. They said, you see the shadow there of the person that's standing off to the side? They'd say, well, that's who's making that, doing that stuff right there. So, yeah, that's fake. But I don't get a lot of it,
I've noticed now that especially in the YouTube community, especially in the TikTok community, there's an awful lot of people faking stuff now. I have noticed that there's a lot of faking going on. And it's a bad thing because it's given like other like good ghost hunters, like in the chat and everybody else, it's getting bad names because people will like that when you see something, if you capture something, people will be like, oh, it's fake, you fake that. What's your opinion on, like, say, the YouTubers out there that have got like 100,000 followers, but they fake everything? What's your opinion on them?
Yeah, but those people end up getting caught eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to be a member of a group in Scotland called Scottish Paranormal. And,
yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And Scottish Paranormal is above board as, I mean, they are as good a ghost hunters as you'll ever find. And they would not put up with anything like that.
Yeah.
And frankly, neither will I. I mean, I've called people out before, and I've also told them, I said, just, knock off with all the, you're trying to provoke things. I just tell them, I said, don't do that. And they go, why? I said, if I came over to your house and started saying the stuff that you're saying here, would you want me to stay? And they'd go, well, no. I said, then why do you expect something that you can't see, that doesn't have to interact with you if it doesn't want to? Why do you think acting like a jerk is going to get a response? I don't let anybody do that. I mean, I don't let people talk to me like that on the street. I don't think you guys do either. So, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've always thought to myself, why did they do that? They see a location, they'll walk in, and the first thing they'll do, I know a lot of ghost hunters that'll walk in, they'll introduce themselves, they'll ask, can we come in? Can we basically, can you communicate with us to do such and such? But I've seen ghost hunters out there, and some that I know on Facebook and that will go into a location, and the first thing they start doing is screaming, calling them everything under the sun.
Yeah.
I think that's totally wrong. Yeah, because all they're really wanting is to get like maybe attacked or something like that, so they can make loads of money.
Well, I got to tell you, I got no respect for people that do that. None.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to see a ghost unless the ghost wants you to see him. Okay. And I try and explain to people. They say, well, you always have things calling your name. You always have so much interaction. I said, it's simple. I'm nice to the spirits. I said, I go in, I introduce myself. I said, I always say how the equipment works and everything else. Tell them if they want to make, I tell them I have a voice recorder. If you have a message for someone, I can get it to them. Right. So I've already started off in a friendly manner. And people always say, Rick, you get your name called out more than anybody we ever heard of. And I said, well, there's a reason for that. And they said, well, we didn't call out our names. I said, did you tell him your name? No. I said, I did when I walked in. I introduced myself. Right. So try that, by the way. You guys know Torwood?
All the time.
You guys know Torwood Castle? I was there with Gregor and Ryan from Scottish Paranormal, a couple other people. I think Lee Dunn was there also. And I have a habit with I have my cell phone when I'm taking pictures. I have it voice activated, so I can lift it up if I'm trying to get a shot from some, that's kind of on a weird angle. And I'll go, shoot, and the camera will go off, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ryan O'Neill, who was on Haunted Scotland, I think is the name of the show, he's listening back to his DR60 recorder, and on there it goes, shoot, Rick. I was like, well, wait a minute, let's not shoot Rick. And Gregor says, no, he says he's talking about the camera because you're always going shoot, and it's just saying to you, shoot, Rick, like take a picture.
See, that's amazing. That is amazing. That just shows you the intelligence behind that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I live in Hollywood. I'm not used to intelligence.
That's very true. We've actually got a question from Emerald Isles paranormal researchers, Jenny. I know you have a great interest in Rosslyn Chapel. Why are there so many green men depicted in the exterior of the chapel?
Well, I don't know the exact reason for that. I've heard them explain it, and it has something to do with some Irish folklore, if I recall. And it's like a symbol of something. So they have it on the inside of the chapel, and they also have some on the outside of the chapel. And I have been over that place so many times, outside, out in the glen, down to the castle. I'll be back there, and I'm going back in June, and we'll go down there for 2 or 3 days to just, amble through there and see what we can find. One of the scariest things, by the way, that ever happened to me happened in Rosslyn. I was staying at a lady's house who was nice enough to have let me stay at her house when I couldn't get a hotel room. And I had never met this lady. She was a little older than me. And she said, hey, I'm going to England to visit my sister. You can have my house for 10 days. But I mean, it was so cool. But anyway,
we're having some weird problems.
But anyway, we lost Dakota. There he is.
I'm here.
And we're having some weird fluctuations in the dilithium crystals, I think.
well, where's Scotty, for God's sake?
Hey, Captain. We're doomed, Captain.
I used to feel so bad for Scotty when he was on what the heck was the name of that show? Where it was Captain Kirk and all those dudes, Star Trek.
Yeah.
Every show he'd sit there and they'd go warp factor 10, Scotty, and he'd go, oh, I can't get it up that high. It'll blow. We can't go that. Warp factor 10. And every time he would do it, it never blew up. Just once, I wanted that thing to go, and then have him to hear his voice out there and go, I told you so.
Hey, Captain, the dilithium crystals. We can't hold the power, Captain. We're all doomed.
Yeah, just once I wanted to see that thing blow up and kill everybody because
I know
either Scotty was the greatest mechanic or the worst. I don't know which one it was.
Well, he used to always tell the captain it'll take 2 hours, and the job only took like half an hour. I think he did that deliberately, so to make the captain think that he did it quick. But you were saying about Rosslyn Chapel. I mean, Rosslyn Chapel is obviously famous with like the Holy Grail and the Knights Templars and stuff like that. Have you ever? When you go?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I don't know if anybody here that's in the chat and that's ever seen inside. I mean, inside it's beautiful. I've been there a few times and it's stunning. But what I have noticed about the Roslyn is there's been a lot of UFO sightings there, a high number of UFO sightings in the area. And I'm wondering if it's got something to do with that chapel, because it has got, did you notice it's got a sealed up underground part that's never been opened since the 17th century?
I haven't seen anything UFO wise out there.
Yeah.
But I did have one of the scariest things ever happen to me at Roslyn. I was walking out of the chapel itself, and then as you're walking down, there's a yellow building where Robert Burns and all these people had stayed, and there's a little thing that goes downhill down to the graveyards and stuff, and there's about a 200-yard straight line of hedges for where cars drive in and out. And as I was walking by, there was two older ladies, and as I walked by, I said, "Afternoon, ladies." And I walked past them, and I'm looking over at the yellow building, and I hear, but I mean, 25 times louder than that, just right in front of me, and I just freeze, right? Because two things. I thought first thing was it was an attack dog, right? But it was much louder than an attack dog. And then I've also heard that people have seen a Black Panther behind Roslyn Chapel.
I've heard that.
So I thought maybe he's out here and he's, I look like lunch, so I freeze. I've
always wondered where all the American tourists disappear to.
Yeah. Hey, look, he's a chubby little rascal. Maybe he's tasty. So anyway, I freeze and I just turn my head real slow and there's nothing there. So I go scooting up real fast and I look down to see if anybody had walked down that walkway. Nobody there. I looked in the back behind both parking lots. There's nobody there. Nothing there. So I'm thinking, oh boy, I got a brain aneurysm or something, right? And the two ladies walked up to me and they stopped and they looked at me and they go, "We heard it too," right? Now, this could only be described as something that was demonic. I mean, so loud and right? So now I'm kind of freaked out a little bit. And I've got 8 miles to walk through the forest, through the Glen and through the forest and everything else to get over to Dalkeith where I was staying. And as I finally got there, one of the coolest things ever, I was about a block away and I'm standing there waiting to cross the street. And I was still really shaken up by that sound. And I just looked up and I said, I think I could use a little help on this, right? And I looked down and my shadow had a big cross right behind me. And I was like, well, that's a pretty good sign. I'll go with that. Right? So it's actually in my first book. The picture's in there. And it's really something. I mean, it'll knock your socks off. I gotta find that and show it to you. But yeah, that was really something. There's so many weird things that happen. Roslyn itself, the whole thing of Roslyn, walking around there, a lot of people don't realize that the bloodiest battle between the English and the Scots was in Roslyn.
That's right. It was.
Yeah, in 1303, and it's and it's one of the biggest routs the Scots ever did to the English, and they were outnumbered like 30,000 to 8,000. Yeah. And the whole thing is that the only English they said that survived were the fast ones.
I think there's actually a story now. I can't remember all of it, but there's a story. You know how Roslyn's got a glen?
Yeah.
And it's how the English cavalry were slaughtered in that glen by the Scottish. They all waited with English cavalry and wiped them all out. But you've got Roslyn Castle too, which is an interesting place. You ever been there?
I've been on the tour so many times. Matter of fact, though, they kind of gave me the dirty look because I asked the guy that ran the place. I said, "Okay, I got a question for you." And they said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, there's a lot of stuff saying that the Knights Templar brought the Holy Grail here." And he goes, "Yeah, that's one of the things they say." And I said, "I want to know how that's possible." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it was, 1307, they pretty much got wiped out, right? The Knights Templar.
Yeah.
And I said,
Mhm.
and this building was built in 1446. That's almost 150 years later.
Yep.
How did this
Mhm.
thing get here? And
See,
he just stopped. He was like,
yeah. It's I've got friends that are Masons, and I actually this question. You came at the Scottish Free Rite Masons are like they're really secretive, and I asked them about it, and it's quite interesting. One of them told me that it was so as they could hide something. I honestly don't think that the Holy Grail is a cup. I think it's something else. I think it's something totally different than something ancient. You know?
well, there's stories about other castles. Balgony Castle, for one.
Yep.
There's supposed to be
Yep.
something buried under the chapel.
I've heard that. I've heard. Mm-hmm.
The guy that was the laird over there, Raymond Morris, I
Mhm.
became good friends with him. He was a very nice man, older. He just passed away last year. He was 93, I think.
Oh,
But he came to me the first time I was there. We just bonded. I mean, and he actually took me upstairs to his private residence. So we all went up there. And as we're walking up, Gregor just says to me, he goes, he's never taken us up there, right? So just somehow we connected. And I
Yeah.
think it was because I was very interested in everything he was talking about. And I also have a sort of an obsession about the Knights Templar.
oh yeah.
He has all this Knights Templar stuff in his castle. So finally I asked him, I said, boy, you got a lot of Knights Templar stuff in here. And he goes, yeah. He goes, by the way, can you keep a secret? I said, yeah. So as I'm walking out, he goes, and he tells me a secret. And I just went, what? Right? And he goes, I said, are you serious? And he goes, yeah, I am. So until the next year when I could come back, I didn't tell anybody.
Mhm.
Came back and he looks at me and he goes, did you tell anybody the secret? And I said, no. He goes, good, because I only told you half the secret. I said, okay, what's the whole secret then? And he told me, and because he passed away, they have written about it in his obituary,
Mm-hmm.
that there are actually living Knights Templars in the United States. There are
Mhm.
many in Scotland, and he was
Mhm.
actually the Grand Master of them.
Yep.
You know, and
Yep.
you know, that was my big buddy. You know, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, there's a whole lot more to that. Like I said, there's supposed to be something buried under the chapel at Balgony.
Oh yeah. I've actually been lucky enough years before I started doing YouTube. I actually was lucky enough to meet one of them, and everybody thinks. See how you got all these online things where become a Knights Templar, join the group on Facebook and stuff. They're fake. They're no Knights Templars. They're no Knights Templars. I've met a real Knights Templar, and they're off the Masonic Lodge. If you join the Masonic Lodge, you can make your way in to the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
What I've been told. Yeah.
Well, you know, there's a temple that's 8 miles from Roslyn, and it's in a little city called Temple. And they
Yes.
named it after the temple. And it was actually a Knights Templar headquarters and temple, you know.
Mhm.
And I went there with Ryan O'Neill and Gregor Stewart, you know, two of the head honchos of Scottish Paranormal. And we were getting responses all over the place. And I asked them, I said, you know what? I got the weirdest feeling that I have been here before. And they said, yeah, we always get that ourselves. So I asked, I said, hey, has any of us been here before? And you know what the answer was? It went, de quoi, which is 1, 2, 3 in French.
In French. Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's bizarre. By the way,
that's below you so people can see.
That's the big. That's my shadow. You see it?
That's amazing. That is.
Yeah.
And if you see the picture on the
amazing.
left, that's right where I heard the growl.
See, that's actually quite interesting. That it makes you wonder. I mean, the Roslyn itself has got a lot of like strange things. I mean, I've heard a lot of tales for the Roslyn area. That's where my mother came from. was Rosalind, and their family dates back a long time. And I've heard strange stories about black dogs with red eyes and stuff like that that farmers would see out in the fields and things. It makes you wonder what they're actually protecting, doesn't it?
It's interesting. I've actually been. There's a place right next to this little river where William Wallace used to hide in this cave when he was trying to hide from when the British were chasing him.
Yeah.
And I actually was able to go in there. Man, a friend of mine, Brian Harley, who has a thing called Premier Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I asked him, I said, yeah, I've looked for that thing all the time. He says, well, you have to have permission to go on there. I said, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. He goes, well, I have permission. Come on, I'll take you. So we went over there and went inside the cave and everything else. It was actually really cool. So I don't know how many people get to go in there, but this guy
there's
did.
there's actually quite a few Wallace's caves round about Scotland. I mean, I'm only like 12 miles from Lanark, and in the movie when they went, oh, we're marching to Lanark, I'm really close to where that is. Near Lanark itself at one time was quite a bustling centre of attention before Edinburgh was there, and there's actually a cave that goes into the side of the hill that's called Wallace's Cave, and it goes way in next to the river.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's the one where it's actually kind of an open cave. The one next to Rosalind is in the face of a stone cliff, and you have to go out and walk on a thing that's about that wide to get in. You can't see it from where you're standing up on top.
Yeah,
and you really can't see it from down below. You have to be on the perfect angle to see it. And I've been inside, and I thought, what an easy place to defend. I mean, you can hear them coming, right?
Yep.
Space is only like this wide, and it's about a 40-foot drop. All you got to do is stand there with your sword, and when somebody walks up, just go poke.
I just do them all. Poke.
Yeah, poke. So, yeah.
I must admit, Scotland obviously is an amazing place. I mean, it's full of amazing things. Obviously, Dakota here, he actually had the privilege of meeting Nessie. Dakota, why don't you say?
Well, you know what's funny about Nessie?
Ooh.
The first person who saw Nessie was St. Columba.
Yeah.
That's right.
My name, McCallum, comes from St. Columba.
Oh.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, Loch Ness is a very interesting loch. It's very, very deep. We know that. I mean, Dakota, actually, what channel was it you were on for your sighting?
It was National Geographic that I was
National
on.
Geographic. Have you ever been to Loch Ness?
Oh, yeah.
Rick?
Yeah, I've actually stayed in Inverness many days.
It's an amazing place. Yep.
I had been out on the boat going out on there, and very interesting place. I actually had breakfast with some ghost hunting friends right next to the water, and we were not too far from the Boleskine house, which was, if you know the Boleskine house, that was what was that guy's name?
We're talking about Alistair Crowley.
Alistair Crowley.
Yeah. I mean, that burnt to the ground. Strangely, it burnt to the ground, but they're rebuilding it.
They were rebuilding it when I was there last year. And we went in there, and there's a graveyard right across the way.
There is.
And there was a girl there. I was there with Liam Shand, who was one of the Taps guys. And I think Claire is also. And Claire Rare, my camera, I had so many pictures I couldn't take anymore. I had no more space, so she was taking all these pictures for me. And her camera, I mean, she's a fantastic photographer. And, this girl, Claire Rare, I have never seen anybody work dowsing rods like her. And I'm very skeptical about stuff, right? And I was watching to see if there was like a micro movement. And I mean, this girl didn't budge, right? And she was getting answers instantly to everything. But the real weird thing is, everybody says, you should try them. I said, I've tried them. They don't work for me. And they said, they go, why? I said, watch. and I took the things. I've done this every single time somebody's asked me. I picked them up and held them. I said, "Would you please point to the person that has the most power?" And they always go, "No." Turn back and point directly at me. I'm like, okay, so I'll take it.
I've researched Loch Ness and I found that it's really interesting because there's a lot of ley lines run through Loch Ness. A lot of ley lines run through Loch Ness, and I think that's maybe why Aleister Crowley stayed there. I think he was using the ley lines to for energy to conjure all strange creatures.
Well, for a stupid American, what is a whaling?
A whale? A what?
What are you saying? It sounds like you're saying whalings.
Oh God!
No, he's saying ley lines.
Ley lines. Okay.
Damn it, Captain! Can you do it? Where's the universal translator, Captain? It's not working.
Chris, I told you this before. When I come on, you need to turn down your Scottish accent filter.
It took me 3 months to convince him when we first met to calm down so I could understand what he said.
Okay, the new. I'll tell you this. The new.
Well, you know Ryan O'Neill. He's got one of the strongest ones too.
Yeah.
And we were in Ireland driving along. He's telling me something from the back seat. I just turned around. I said, "Will you speak English?" Right. So what he started doing is he started going doodly doodly doo, deedly deedly dee. It's like, stop it. So
there's actually a question from Dots MC. What's that, Dakota? You want to read that out to him?
Dots asks if you have seen any UFOs, being that you're near a major hotspot. It's Los Angeles, Dots. Of course there's a lot of shit that goes down there.
A lot of strange things in Los Angeles.
If you walk around Venice Beach, you'll think there's aliens walking on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
There are some freaky people. But yeah, I have seen two. I have one really good picture. And you guys are familiar with the Swilcan Bridge?
Yeah.
At St. Andrews?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Well, it's famous. That's where everybody that's playing their last big tournament round and is going to retire, it goes to the 18th hole. And all of the people, Arnold Palmer and, Jack Nicklaus and all those people have all stood there looking off into the distance and getting their picture on the Swilcan Bridge. So everybody wants their picture on this bridge. So I was walking along and there was a group of people and they said, "Hey, will you mind taking a picture of us?" I said, "No, not at all." So I took it and I thought, you know what, I should get a picture of this just to prove to everybody I was here. And I asked this girl, I said, "Will you take a picture of me on the Swilcan Bridge?" And handed her my camera. Well, she did it in burst mode, if you know what that is. It's like every half second it goes click, 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 click.
Yep.
And it's actually on my desktop. I can't show you because I'd probably disconnect all of you. But it's on my desktop. And I'm looking up there and I have folders on my desktop. Right.
Yeah. So
one day I decided to clean some off and I moved one and there's a disc-shaped object in the background. I'm like, what is that? Right. So I blow it up as much as I can. It actually looks like a football almost going through it's kind of darker and it's shaped like that. But it's probably 400 to 500 yards away from me. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, that is strange. So I said, let me look. And I went in there and I did not know. That's when I found out it was on burst mode.
Yep.
There's Dakota.
We're back.
There we are.
Every time.
Most of it
we're
again. See, we've started talking about aliens and stuff now. And this is
Well, what happened was I went back to look at it and I went back and found the picture and I looked and I saw the other ones. So I said, all right, so let me look. So I looked at the one that was directly in front of it. Nothing there. I looked at the one directly after it. Nothing there. Okay. Now that's
interesting.
Yeah. That was a matter of like less than a second. But they also had a guy that was in a cart. I don't know if you guys have ever been to St. Andrews. They had a guy that was right near the starter shack and he was starting to come.
Yep.
And he was driving and he maybe went a foot. Right. So, but there it is right in the middle of the sky. And It's not a bird. It's not anything else because it couldn't be a bird. You'd never see it that far away. But not a plane. Nothing would come through that fast. But that's the one that I've seen in Scotland. I've seen others out here.
Yeah. I mean, Scotland's got its UFOs like anywhere else, but I would say the most busy place was the United States. I would say that because obviously,
When I was there in Scotland, they were telling me there are a lot of places like Dumbarton, the bridge there, I believe it is supposed to be very UFO friendly. You know, and there's supposed to be a lot of places that got a lot of UFOs out there, which makes sense. See, now I don't know if your place has more than we have out here, but you can see them. Now, out here, we have 10 million people in Los Angeles, and there's so much ambient light. There could be one sitting on your roof, and you couldn't see it. You know? So, you know, you have to be out, you know, where you can see the stars and everything else. And I've actually seen another one in New Mexico because I was driving through there one night. It was about 2 a.m. And I was just stunned by the sky. I mean, it looked like every postcard of astronomy. I mean, you could see every star, the Milky Way. So I pulled my car over, and I went over and I sat on the hood and leaned back on the windshield. And I'm just looking, and I see a satellite because you can see the satellites moving, right? And I see a satellite, and I'm watching it. And it's going, and it goes. I was like, oh, 90-degree turn, and it boom, gone. I was like, that was not a satellite. And I saw I saw the exact same thing, same movement, same everything else at a place in the Redwood Forest when I was doing a movie up there, right on the California-Oregon border. And they were shooting late at night, and I was stunt coordinating, but there was nothing for me to do in this scene. So I walked about 100 yards away into this thing to look up the sky. Same exact thing. Boom, gone.
I've seen that. I'm lucky where I stay. There's no light pollution. And I was watching the sky one night. All the stars were out. The Milky Way was out. And I went, oh, there's a satellite. And I watched it, and it just stopped. It just stopped in midair. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, they don't do that.
In the opposite direction. Yeah. Satellites keep going. They don't just stop and sit there for like 2 minutes, then pop off in a different direction.
Actually, I'm coming in June to Scotland, and on June 15th, I'm going to listen at this one Paracon they're having in Glasgow, and my friend Linda Whiteford from Cool Ross is going to be one of the speakers, and a lot of it is about UFOs, so that should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get to it because I'll find that very interesting. I'm going to try and get to it.
Well,
get the Bolden Bonkers t-shirt and the Bolden Bonkers hat.
Well, look me up. I'm the tall guy with the funny hat.
I don't you worry. I'll just shout out. I say, I'm the guy that you can't understand.
Well, I can't understand anybody over there, so how's that going to work?
Right?
That'll be fine. The universal translator, you know, the universal. Would you like to ask questions?
Well, I got to tell you, I am really sincerely thinking about moving to Scotland.
Really?
Yeah, I just have such a connection there. Somebody once asked me, they said, well, do you have any ancestors? I said, yeah, a lot of them. And they said, what do they do? I said, they're dead. I said, that's what makes them ancestors, you dumb bonehead.
Otherwise, they're still living. We got some questions.
Yeah, if they were still living, they'd be called relatives. But yeah, it was funny. I told Gregor Stewart one day, he was asking, he says, you've got some lineage here, don't you? And I said, well, I think if you figure out that King Malcolm II is I'm a direct descendant of him, I would say yes. You know, so when you're actually a descendant of a king, you know, that's not too bad.
I've actually, before I let Dakota say, do you want to ask the next question, Dakota? Come on. Before I ask this one,
go ahead. Don't go ahead, man.
I was actually going to ask you, have you ever had anything creepy or supernatural happen when you've been working in the movies?
Yes, but it didn't happen because of the movie. It happened on the location where I was at.
Yeah.
We were in a studio, which I'm not allowed to say what it is, but we were doing a movie called Hatchet 2. And I asked a couple of the actors. I don't know if you know. Well, doesn't matter who they were. Anyway, and they said they didn't want to. They didn't want to go up, because I was going to go up. And they said no, and we don't ghost hunt. I said okay. So the one makeup lady says, "Oh, can I go?" And I said, "Sure, come on." So we went up there, and I had my K2 meter, and what else did I have? I think I had my night vision camera. And we get up there, and we start getting a lot of movement, a lot of answers on the K2 meter. And, we're getting a lot of activity. And it was so funny because this one couple came up, and they ghost hunted with us for 10 minutes, and then they left. And then two other guys came up. One was security guard, one was a guy from the movie. And the security guard was going all provoke, right, which immediately turned me off. And he's going, "I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I show your sign, I ain't afraid of you." And I said, don't do that, right? And he goes, "I'm not afraid of them." And then all of a sudden, the K2 meter goes all 5 lights. And he goes, "What is that?" I said, "Well, it's usually a pickup on, spirit energy." And he goes, "Well, what's all the lights?" I said, "That just shows you how strong the spirit energy is. It's got 5 lights. When it goes all 5, it's a very strong response." And the girl goes, "Yeah, you should have been here a little while earlier. We heard a voice right in front of us." The guy goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "And we saw a big black shadow walk right in front of the door. You could see the legs underneath, because the light was coming through." And he goes, "Really? You saw that?" We said, "Yeah." Right. I said, "And if that lights go off again, it usually means there's some spirit energy around." And he goes, "I don't believe in any of that. It goes all 5 lights." And you can go, "Oh," he goes, "Oh, bull BS," right? He yells, right? Just in case you can't say that on this show. But, and I actually have on video where you can hear it, him and the other guy running down the steps to get away. You hear, "Oh, damn," as they run down the stairs. So the guy that was up there being super macho got his hat handed to him. He didn't even get a chance to say, "Hold my beer." I mean, he's just off he went.
When you go to okay.
So, aside from the loud dog growl that you were mentioning before, has there ever been an experience you have that honestly terrified you?
Yes. Oh, you want more?
Oh, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Don't be a tease.
I actually got up from this is my bedroom and I was on wasn't on the computer. I got up in the middle of the night to go get a drink of water, like 2 a.m, and I go out, and you see the blinds I have back there, the vinyl vertical blinds. It keeps pretty much all the light out. I mean, you can see there's light, but you don't see shapes or anything else. All you see is light. And I've got them in my dining room and my kitchen. And as I walked into the dining room was like pitch black, which meant no light at all was coming through the blinds, which the light comes through the blinds. And on the other side, in the kitchen, the light was. And it's the same light outside. And I just stopped there, and it's just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I look over, and something moves in front of me. So I throw my fists up because I thought it was a burglar, right? I just instantly went to defend myself. And I look, and I can see through this cutout, that goes into the kitchen, so you can hand food through to the dining room. And I look over there, and I can see the microwave with the clock on it. And I see a head start to come up, right? And I can see the silhouette from behind. And I'm like, there's somebody there. So I'm ready, right? And I'm waiting, and it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up, and it's like enormous. I mean, no human this size anywhere, right? And I can see the whole thing, the whole silhouette of him. And the thing that I know for sure there was somebody there, as he was going up, the light on the microwave went out. You couldn't see it anymore. That meant something was between me and it, right? So I just started saying, beat it, get out of here. You're not allowed here. And the light was, I had to go towards where it was and then to the right to hit the light. And I just kind of made a move towards it and hit the light, and there was nothing there. Well, he came back, and he was not nice. Let's just put it that way. He was not playing for the same team that I play for. and I'd have these black shadows showing up and just flying through the apartment. And it was so bad that there was a guy that was 2 apartments down that I knew. There was another stunt guy. And he asked me, he says, is your apartment haunted? Now, this is before I told anybody I did ghost hunting. I said, yeah, it is. And he goes, I keep getting all these black shapes come flying through there. And it would have been because it came through this way, right towards his place. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he eventually moved out. He said he had priests come bless the place. Excuse me, twice. And he finally moved out. He said he just couldn't take it. But I had these 2 twin girls come over. Not as exciting as you think. They were sitting in the living room, and they were using my SB7, spirit box, and trying to connect with their dad. And they're writing down. They each have a tablet of paper, and the spirit box. You guys know how they work. You get one word a night. This thing's they just like bam, 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 bam. So I went in and I came onto this computer, and I'm working on stuff while they're in there. And finally, after about half an hour, I got up and I walked in and I said, girls, what are you trying to accomplish? Right. And they said, well, we're trying to talk to our dad. He died last year or 2 years ago or whatever it was. And I'm listening. And then it goes, I said, so what do you really want to do? They said, well, we really want to talk to our dad. And they're both sitting there and it says father, and they write it down. Right. And their last name was a color. Right. I don't want to say what their name was. But they said that was the next word, father and the McCallum, right? And they write it down. And I just stopped the SB7. I said, girls, what are you waiting for? And they said, what do you mean? I said, what are the last 2 words you just wrote down? Oh, father and McCallum. Oh, my God, it's our dad, right? And they're freaking out. So I said, all right. I turned it back on. I said, seeing as I'm getting all this, activity through the box, I had been seeing white shadows coming through my apartment. Now, I've never even heard of white shadows, right? And do you remember on Star Trek when they would transport somebody and you'd see the flickering? I would see that every once in a while, the flickering out of the corner of my eye. And if I turned around, it was gone. So what I started doing when I'd see it, I would just sit there and look out of the corner of my eye and be able to see it. Well, anyway, I was thinking because the black shadows had made this big, nasty son of a gun show up, that maybe the white shadows were something else. So I just asked, I said, I've had these white shadows coming through here all the time. What is it? And it says to me, it goes, scent protection. And I was like, I'll take it. Right. All right. And the one girl goes, are you good or are you bad? And it goes, loving. And I was like, all right, bring it. I have backup. So that night when I was walking, this door right here next to me, I got up and it was nighttime. I got to the door. I started to open the door and I heard a voice inside my head saying, he's here. Now I know who the he's talking about. That big son of a bitch is back. Right. So I just walked out in the thing and I just thought, I said, all right, show yourself. You're always, sending stuff around. You're always, every once in a while, show yourself. You and I will take care of this right now. Right. I said, but you're not going to show up because you're a coward. I said, you can stand there and look all intimidating and everything else you want, but get the hell out of my apartment. Don't come back. I said, and you're not going to make yourself known because you know that I'm not alone. Now don't ever come back. Right. So I simmered down, I got my water and I came back in and I was thinking, wow, what did I just do? I came this close to getting my ass kicked. Right. But it's never come back. Been 5 or 6 years.
There you go. It's probably haunting someone else.
No, I'm positive when it said it was scent protection and it was loving.
Yeah,
that I had some spear carriers of my own there to hang on to.
Yeah.
So I ran him off.
If you had to go to any location in the world, which would it be? The ghost hunt.
Yeah, there's several actually. I would like to go to the Tower of London.
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
Yeah. That'd be one I'd want to go to. There's another place right out here. There was a movie called Wonderland that they wrote about this. And this place was where John Holmes, the porn star, had been staying with this motorcycle group, motorcycle gang, I guess would be the best way of saying it. And they convinced him to rip off this one big drug lord because he would always go down there and they'd give him stuff. But, he's kind of like a pet, actually, for all the parties. And he left the back door open so these guys could go in and rob the guy. Now, this guy was not the guy to rob, right? And they said the only person that could have gone back there and opened that door, because it was always secured, was Holmes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they went out and they caught him at one of the parties and they grabbed him and they just told him, we're going to kill you. The only way you're going to survive is if you take us to who set it up. So they took him up to the house on Wonderland and they had an intercom. And he hit the intercom and the guy hears a voice, sleeping, who is it? And he goes, it's John. And they buzz him in. And these guys come in with iron pipes and beat everybody to death except for one guy. They got the one girl. Everybody's sleeping. And, they just wailed on him. And if you ever see the pictures, they're horrifying. There's one of a guy laying flat on the bed. Obviously got him while he's sleeping. And the hole from the side of his head this way was indented like about that much, right across the eyes, just boom. And there was another guy. He was against an office chair in the same room. And he's just like that. And there's blood everywhere. And what it sounds like, because there's a door that's open past that. And I think he heard the guy come in there and start getting him. And they made John Holmes hit him with the things too, right? Because he knew them, right? And that's how they got a bloody palm print of his up on the wall. That's how he ended up going to prison. But I think this other guy come running in to try to help his friend. And they just annihilated this guy. So if there's any residual energy anywhere, it's in that house.
It's going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
When you get worked over like that, there's anger, there's trauma, there's despair, there's every kind of emotion you can imagine in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, that would be one place I'd really like to get into. And it's maybe 5 miles from my apartment.
See, that's interesting. That is there any celebrity mansions that are haunted in Los Angeles?
Dakota, will you translate that?
Are there any?
I got up to are there any celebrities in Los Angeles? That was what I got out of that.
There you go.
Is there any celebrity mansions that would be considered haunted in Los Angeles? Is what he's trying to ask, I think.
Well, he did ask it. I just, I'm a little hard of hearing, and but there's a bunch of celebrity mansions out here that are haunted. There was one where they had. I can't remember. It was one of the game shows where they put all these guys up, and a bunch of them just fled in the middle of the night because they saw spirits. Another one was Paul Byrne. You probably don't know who he is because most people don't. Paul Byrne was a director, and he was married to one of the most beautiful girls. I can't remember who it was, but evidently that they didn't hook up because there was something not clicking, right? Well, he killed himself in the house. Well, Sharon Tate lived in that house with Roman Polanski, who were two of the people that got killed by the Manson family. And as she had walked down the hallway, she saw Paul Byrne standing on the stairs, right? And she freaked and she recognized him, but he'd killed himself years before, right?
Yes.
And he points over the railing to the staircase, and she looks down and she sees herself strapped to the thing with blood everywhere. So her and Polanski immediately move out the next morning. But that is actually what it ended up happening to her. They ended up strapping her over things and cutting, just horrible things. But there's a lot of places out here that are haunted like that. The Omen House has a lot of activity there. I've been there a bunch of times. And that's like right next door to where the Mansons killed everybody. So
I find that interesting. That house is meant to be very active where the Mansons were.
They actually destroyed that house years and years and years ago. And according to what I just heard, Taylor Swift just bought it. Now that's
lovely.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I just heard that. So, there was actually a lawyer. I think he was. A Although this guy had some clout, whoever he was, because he built himself a mega mansion, right? That looked more like a fort than a mansion. And one day I was standing out there with David. We were out in the street, and here the gates open up, and these 3 like Maybachs, real expensive cars, one right after the other, they all came out. So like I have a feeling 2 of them were bodyguards that followed or were leading him.
Yeah.
So whoever he was, they said he was a lawyer. But anyway, yeah, that place would probably be very haunted also.
Cut it out.
Got any questions for Rick?
How did you get so handsome?
Hi, how did you manage to get so handsome? Is it you spent all your money in plastic surgery?
Oh God, plastic wouldn't even stick to my face.
I mean, obviously, Los Angeles.
I had a girl tell me one time.
famous. Yeah.
I had a girl tell me one time. She goes, "Yeah, you do a lot of movie stuff." She goes, "You've got that good look. You're a handsome guy." And I went, "Oh, really? Why is it every time I go to a movie they cover my face in foam?" kind of think that's not the case. So yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting back to Scotland, though. I really am. I've got a bunch of ghost hunts set up. It should be fun.
You'll need to dress in the part. You'll need to dress with the kilt on.
No, my legs
are
just...
like kilt on?
No. My legs are just too pretty. The girls will go wild.
That's very true.
That's the only way I get through the day, telling myself stuff like that.
So, Rick, I hope you can understand me here.
I got you.
Can you tell us, everybody in the chat, where they can buy your book from?
Yeah, well, I actually have 2 books out. The first one, Ghosts Believe in Me, was the paranormal book of the year. The second one is called The Spirits Are Out There and They're Waiting for You. And they're both only $10, and they're on Amazon. And the nice thing is there's a hospital over here that helps kids with cancer called St. Jude's. And the profits, I send most of the profits to St. Jude. So
that's what I figured.
You can read a good book. You can read a good book, and you can do something nice at the same time.
That's really, really, really nice. Yeah. So, Rick, I would like to say thank you very much for coming on the show. We had a wee bit difficulties tonight with the cameras and God knows what last night. That the internet wouldn't work. So I'd like to say thank you to you, Rick, and hopefully you can get to Scotland soon. And I'll see you marching out of the hills with your
I'll be there June 6th. You're supposed to find a place for us to ghost hunt together. Dakota, I don't think you're coming because you live in Idaho.
I would want to, man. Trust me, but nah.
My brother lives in Idaho, by the way.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he lives in Boise or near Boise.
Oh, that's only about 2 hours from me on a good driving conditions.
Well, that's like when I grew up in Chicago. There'd be girls saying, "Oh, you're from the South Side of Chicago. Do you know so and so?" There's 4 million people that live there.
I know. It's the same when it comes to Scotland. And I'm no offense, but I've had Americans ask me, "Do you know my uncle? He stays in Glasgow." And you're like, "Oh, there's about 7 million people live in Scotland."
No, I don't even know my own relatives that much. So I mean,
I know.
Right. I don't know my neighbors in this apartment complex. How would I know people in Scotland? I know more people in Scotland than I know here in the United States, and that's absolutely true.
There you go.
Yeah.
You need to move here and get yourself a wee cottage up in the Highlands.
No, I would probably stay down near Roslyn somewhere.
Yeah.
That would probably.
I'm not far from there.
Actually, you know what? In case anybody's listening, I saw a place that was about a mile from Roslyn, just before you make the left-hand turn to go into Roslyn, and it was a mobile home park.
Yeah.
And it looked really nice, and I thought, now that'd be a good place to live. I mean, it's a good spot. You don't have to worry about a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm gonna have to check that out when I get back there because I've walked by it 100 times.
There you go. You'll need to see about it, So, Dakota, do you have any announcements to make or anything like that before the end of the show? You there, Dakota? I think we've lost Dakota. I don't think you can hear us.
No, I can hear you. Just you were breaking out there for a sec.
Well, I was
Yeah,
trying
I think there's-
I was trying to think of an answer. Let's just put it this way. I will deedly deedly dee. Yeah, I will have more answers the next time you have me on because I'll have gone to a whole bunch of new places in June. You know, we're going to Torwood Castle. We're going to Bannockburn House. We're going to Castle Menzies. We're going all over the place. So should
well,
be
there
fun.
you go. That'll be excellent. Hopefully, I can see you then, Tay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody for coming. We will see you all next weekend. Stay safe, stay spooky, and have fun. Catch you all later, dudes.
Later.
Bye-bye.